Honey Days, of course, would not happen without the support from the community and the community club. And I mean, they're working year round to make this happen. So shout out to them and all the hard work that they do. It's impressive.
From the blog Random Sweets, I'm Stacy Mergenthal, and this is Funeral Potatoes and Wool Mittens, a show for people who embrace the warm and cozy spirit of everyday living in the northern Midwest. Like in many of the small towns that host annual festivities in celebration of characteristics unique to their community, like Ulvestad Day in Rutland, North Dakota, Lake George Blueberry Festival in Minnesota, Tulip Festival in Orange City, Iowa, Bacon Bash in River Falls, Wisconsin, Nebraska's Testicle Festival in Ashland, and Kool-Aid Days in Hastings, and the city celebration we're talking about today, the 32nd annual Honey Days in Bruce, South Dakota. And joining me for today's show are longtime parade MC Mary Bjerke and her husband Russ. And we kind of put him on the spot while he's making chicken enchiladas, and so he can share his barbecue rib recipe with us. And then their daughter, Christianne Beringer, joins us as well. Mary shares the itinerary for the weekend of events, kicking off with KCountry 102.3's Cookout in Museum Park at noon on Friday, July 28th. And then other traditional events like a parade and craft show, competitive activities like basketball, beanbags, volleyball, horseshoes, and baseball, to the 5K run, walk, or pedal, where Denise Ulvestad shares her beloved honey protein energy balls. She will never share her recipe. There's a kids' bike parade, a Legion pancake breakfast, car show, street dance, yard games, cow pie bingo, and wrapping it all up with a town versus country softball tournament on Sunday evening. If you've listened to episode 8 of Funeral Potatoes and Wool Mittens, you already have Mary's meatloaf recipe. Christianne shared that back in, I think that was December or January. Today, the family is sharing 5 recipes with honey as a main ingredient. Sloppy Joes, barbecue ribs, fudge sauce, barbecue sauce, and those are all from a South Dakota honey cookbook that I will be eagerly scouring antique and thrift stores for. Plus Greek Loukoumades recipe that Mary and her family used the year they won the Honey Bake-Off competition. Recipes and photos that they share are on randomsweets.com, along with links to Bruce Honey Days on Facebook. And I have an announcement. As I wrap up season 1, there are 2 episodes left in this season. This will be the final episode of Funeral Potatoes and Wool Mittens that has poor audio quality in the episodes that are recorded remotely. I made an upgrade to my equipment, so that should make remote episodes sound much better. So thanks for sticking around. Anyway, we'll hear all things Bruce Honey Days from Mary, Christianne, and Russ. So let's give them a ring. Welcome, Christianne, Mary, and Russ to Funeral Potatoes and Wool Mittens. We're going to talk about honey today, but we're also going to talk about Bruce Honey Days, which is in Bruce, South Dakota, a 3-day event. If I understand correctly, this is the 32nd Bruce Honey Days?
That is correct. 32 years.
Bruce is a really tiny town. I don't even know. What's the population of Bruce?
Just over 200.
My dad grew up on a farm by Bruce, so when we would take our Sunday drives, it would be around the Bruce area. We would go to Lake Oakwood. That was the lake that we kind of went to. So 80 Honey Farms, of course, is located there. And so that's kind of my favorite honey. And I'll be talking to them later this week. But today, I really just want to talk about Bruce Honey Days because it's a super fun 3-day event. And so I don't know, Christianne or Mary or who wants to talk about it a little bit, but just tell me a little bit about Bruce Honey Days for this year in 2023.
Okay, well, I'd be happy to. And my name is Mary, of course. And I also am I know Bruce and, hold it dearly in my heart because I grew up 1.5 miles from Bruce on a little dairy farm. I won't say how long ago because that would age me, but a while ago. And so let's just say that I was here for the 32nd, the very beginning of Honey Days. The very
wow.
first. And in fact, when Christianne mentioned that she thinks it's 32 years. I'm like, no way. But it's 32 years. And I have to say, every year is better and bigger and more fun. And I cannot believe how such a little town packs in so much life and enthusiasm into a 3-day event. It's so cool to be a part of it. And so I'll just give you a quick recap of everything going on in Bruce. And believe me, you don't want to miss any of it. It all starts Friday on July 28th with a KCountry cookout at noon. And, and that's the beauty of Bruce Honey Days is the whole region embraces it. So KCountry comes over from Brookings and they host the cookout. And then there's stuff for the kids going on throughout the weekend, beginning with that basketball tourney on Friday. And then the beanbag tournament is crazy. If you've never been to it, you just have to go to see it. I don't know how many teams there are, but they literally fill that softball field with teams.
And that beanbag tournament's only been going on for a few years. It hasn't been that long.
No, but I think it just grows every year. And I've heard, of course, I don't usually stay up that late, but I hear it can go well into the night because there's so many teams. But it's a very cool event to be a part of. And then, Saturday is just full of events, starting with the 5K run, walk, or pedal. And that is, of course, one of my favorite events and this is where we'll start talking about honey. Denise Ulvestad is one of the major hosts of this 5K and has been for years. She makes a secret honey protein energy ball that's probably the only reason I get up that early to go to Bruce on a Saturday morning. But the best part is she won't share the recipe. We just know that there's honey in it, and it's definitely worth getting up that early for. So that's a big highlight.
I'm part of the Bruce Honey Days Facebook page or group or whatever it is. And I saw this lady post a picture of these energy balls, what I assume they look like oatmeal, maybe macaroni type thing. And everybody was flipping out. And I thought, well, this must be a big deal. This is what you're talking about.
Yep.
It's the honey energy balls, and they're just so good. And, we don't have to work too hard to earn them. We do a walk instead of the run, but it's, and I'd like to see that grow. There's usually only, I don't know, maybe 30 or 40 people. It could be a lot bigger, but again, it's pretty early. I think it starts at 7. It's 7:30. So yeah, it's early. And
it's for the people who haven't been out on the beanbag field all night, right?
That's right. Yeah, you probably won't find many beanbaggers there in the morning. But it's a nice option because you can run, walk, or ride your bike. So it gives you, if you want to get a little exercise in before all the fun begins, it's a great start to the morning.
Is that a free event?
It's no, it's like $5.
Okay. And does that money go to a charity or does it go back to the Honey Days planning?
I think it all goes back into the Honey Days, the Bruce Community Club, and all the work that they do to put this on. Which as we get into the events for the day, Honey Days, of course, would not happen without the support from the community and the community club. And they're working year round to make this happen. So I, shout out to them and all the hard work that they do. It's impressive. So then, of course, my favorite part, other than the 5K, is the parade. And that is at 10 o'clock. And a fun story about the parade that I don't, for those who don't know, I have been announcing the parade for a very long time, probably like in the mid 2000s. My dad was, he was a big, farmer, but he also supported Bruce and really liked to be involved and engaged. And he had this little microphone system. And one year he said, Mary, I'd like to announce what's going on at the parade, and I can hook up, plug in at the Legion Hall. So he said, but I think I need your help. And so I said, sure. And so together, my dad and I announced the parade, and we did it, I don't know, probably up until the year before he wasn't able to any longer. And that was so long ago. And then over the course of the years, they just kept asking me to do it. And so now, for as long as Jeff has been mayor, he and I announce it. And I mean, now it's just that this is what we do. And but it's great because I get the main seat in the house, and I know exactly
Right.
what's in the parade, and it's just a whole lot of fun. It just brings us all together.
You do a great job. I've been there obviously a
Well,
few
thank
different
you.
years, and you do a good job. And it's always fun because, hey, that's Christianne's mom.
Yep. And we get a good vantage point for the parade too. And kids get all kinds of candy. And as long as they
Yeah.
save some bit of honey for grandma, everything's okay.
Mm-hmm.
Of course,
So
that's my favorite candy is the bit of honey. Yeah.
the parade, how many on average do you think you have for entrance? And what?
I would say usually between 75 and 100 entries.
Okay. And
Yeah.
there's not a lot of floats, right? That's kind of something different. It's not.
There's a fair amount of floats, and of course
Okay.
the community club does the judging. They have most humorous and best of show, and a couple most religious
Mhm.
that they award. So
Okay.
I in fact I do sometimes design banners for friends and family, and I just finished one today for the parade.
Mm.
Yeah,
Oh.
yeah, there's always some fun themes, and I think this year's theme is bebop and in the 90s. I think that could be some
Hmm.
fun. Could have some fun parade entries.
Christiane, that's right up your alley,
Right? I know.
right? I mean,
And I
I grew
have
up in
to,
the 80s. You're more the 90s, so.
yeah, I was the 90s. I know I keep saying I gotta get one of those shirts, especially this year because it's the 90s.
Right. So you should probably be like rollerblading through the parade with your ghetto blaster on your shoulder or something.
Yes.
I mean,
Some leg warmers.
I might end up hurting myself if I do that. I could do
Oh, that's cool.
a ponytail.
You can what?
I could do a side ponytail.
Oh, sure.
The possibilities are endless, and I mean, they established a theme, but really there's just people do what they want, and just make it fun.
So there's a craft show that goes throughout the day, and then when the parade is over, everybody goes over to get food for.
But yeah, they have the burger feed, and
Mhm.
I'm not sure who's sponsoring that this year, but I do know that there's going to be music there, and that line is always crazy. I mean, that is such a
Mhm.
great draw after the parade. Because at the same time they're starting to set up the car show right there on Main Street. So there's a lot of great classic cars that you can look at and kind of walk around, and there's the burger feed. And then one of the big draws on Saturday and Sunday is the volleyball tournament that kicks off at noon on Saturday. But there's also horseshoes, and they'll have water inflatables, and there's a pork barbecue in the evening, and then it all culminates Saturday night with the street dance. So I mean, you're talking from 7:30 a.m. to probably midnight. There's fun to be had in Bruce.
Right. All outdoors. Well, except I guess that craft show. Is the craft show indoors?
Yes, that's in the Legion Hall. And then Sunday just continues on. They have the Legion pancake breakfast that begins at 8, and they have a community church service. And then, of course, the co-ed
Hmm.
volleyball begins again at 11 o'clock. And they have a kids bike parade, and then yard games. The Dale Benz Memorial Horseshoe Tournament is Sunday afternoon. And one of our favorites is cow pie bingo. Christy, you want to
Now
talk
you got it.
about that?
Yes.
Oh my
Tell
God.
us about that.
I know. I said we have to talk about cow pie bingo because only in small town South Dakota, maybe small Midwest. Hopefully, there's other Midwesterners out there who are just as quirky as we are. Would you find cow pie bingo? And it's pretty much what you might think that it is. They spray paint, I think, some bingo squares in the grass, and they put a pen around it, and they bring in a cow. Usually I think it's a calf. And you sit around and wait for that cow to drop a cow pie. And if it lands on your square, you win.
Oh my goodness. How many years has that happened? And has it ever not dropped a cow pie? What do you do?
I think they do a drawing if it doesn't. And quite often, this calf is like, what is going on? And why am I in this pen? So it's not a guarantee that that's going to happen. If you see Darwin Ulvestad on the street, maybe there's a science to it, but I would definitely ask him because he and his boys are the ones that bring the calf in. So.
Yep, but they sell tickets and you buy your square cow pie bingo
and if you win, what do you get?
I think some cash.
It's a cash prize.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I guess it's worth it then. I mean, we are Midwesterners. There's not too many of us that haven't been around cow pies, so we shouldn't be offended.
And then wrapping up the day, we have Stingers baseball, which is a really fun, with their middle school kids baseball program that has really come a long way and is quite popular. And then the town and country softball game ends the evening's events, and that has been going on for as long as I can remember. And it's always fun to see town versus country and who's better. And I think I think either team would tell you they're better, but it's a really fun event to wrap up Honey Days.
Who's playing the street dance on Saturday night?
It is Undercover.
Okay. And that's a fireman's
yes.
fundraiser,
Yeah. So
right? Okay.
Yeah, it proceeds go to the fire department.
Good.
So yeah.
Is everything pretty much rain or shine unless it's lightning, then you take cover until things are done, or how does that work?
Yeah, they don't even really post that because you know what, Bruce Honey Days, there's no rain. It's going to be a beautiful weekend.
It usually is just hot. I mean,
it's usually, yeah.
In my experience, yeah.
Sometimes storms might roll in on a Sunday afternoon, but we're going to hold out this year and no rain.
Was this community club a thing and they started it?
Yeah, boy, I really can't speak to that. Okay. Although I know that the community club, I think, was formed maybe because of the idea of Honey Days, and they realized they needed a core group of people to help navigate through all the work involved in making it happen. 32 years ago, I do remember that back then they had just a real informal volleyball tournament. And, one of our, favorite parts of Honey Days, and it's still a tradition, is called wrench volleyball, where we partner with the Wrenches and a whole bunch of other friends of ours. And back at the very first Honey Days, we played in that tournament. And of course, most of us are all too old to play now, but it's really, what's so cool is there's still wrench volleyball, and our kids and our grandkids are playing on that team. So it is truly a generational volleyball club.
I mean, the whole thing is a generational tradition when you think about it.
Yeah, and because you have the Perrys, you have the Ulvestads, you have all the Holters, all these families that we've all been in it from the beginning. Yep. Mick Cook and his crew, and it's just such a camaraderie. So it's a great time.
We got my son to drive one of his dad's cool cars in the parade last year, but it's not used to really being driven or slow. So it kept shutting off like all the time. It just kept dying. And he was so frustrated and just wanted to just turn the corner and get out of the parade. But to have him in there and have my dad in there, he was behind us. It was just so special. And like the generational thing, I just think it brings families together. We often have our Perry family reunion that same weekend and do, Bruce Honey Days and get together as the family as well. And I think a lot of people end up doing that.
Oh yeah.
And that is truly what is so special about Honey Days. I mean, my whole family too will be there. My brother comes from Kansas, and we have family coming from Arizona and from Oregon, and it's just an exciting time.
Mm-hmm. How has it kind of changed over the years? Didn't there used to be a bake sale, not a bake sale, but a bake contest of baking with honey? Because
Well,
that's not
yes.
there anymore. So tell me
Yes,
about that.
well, and that there's a funny story behind that, because one year my group decided to participate in the honey contest because we felt like we had a ringer. We had been to a Greek festival in Florida, and my sister-in-law Shelley wanted me to stop at this booth that was making, it would look like donuts, but they're in, the Greek word is loukamatis. And I tell you what, they were like little bites of heaven. And Shelley said, Mary, you need to research this and figure it out because it includes honey and we could enter it in the honey contest. So I did. I mean, we went online and we, researched loukamati recipes, found one, and it's truly like a donut, but you soak it in honey. And we I don't know, that year I must have made like 4 or 5 different batches, practicing, and we truly had it perfected. And so we show up at the honey cook-off and we have our fryer and we're making fresh loucamatis and we're serving them up hot to the judges. And of course they were so good. And then I think we had the edge, and of course we won because they were so good. And they didn't hold the honey cook-off too much after that because I think we had a definite advantage being able to serve these hot, fresh, and delicious donuts, things that the other people brought in pre-cooked food. So anyway, but it was so cool. Won, and the grand prize was a $20 gift certificate to the Bruce Market and a jar of honey fudge sauce. And so of course we gave that to my mom, who worked at the Bruce Market. So it was fun. But unfortunately, I think after a couple more years they decided to discontinue that. I mean, it was again a lot of work to coordinate, and I'm pretty sure the community club had so many other events to focus on that. But sure. I learned how to make Greek loucamatis, and I'm a Norwegian, so
Have you made them since?
No. But
Christianne.
I told Christianne I am going to resurrect that recipe, and I'm going to try it this year for our family. So we'll make them for honey days.
Oh, that sounds perfect. The craft show, I mean, do people have bake sale there? Do they bring baked goods, or is it just homemade crafts and things like that?
So, and I haven't gone to the craft show either because as Mom was talking about the generational volleyball experience, I am now the kid, I guess, who gets to play volleyball. And we try and get the grandkids in there because I too am getting a little bit too old for volleyball.
Whatever. What? Don't give me that, Christianne.
Yeah,
you're still bebopping in the 90s.
Right? I'm going to be very youthful next weekend. But yeah, I'm always up at volleyball, so I don't really get to, unfortunately, I don't get to go to a lot of the other. But Mom, she's bebopping all over town all weekend. So.
I do think that they have it's a mix of crafts and baked goods. Probably some jams, there's so many good bakers and crafters in the Bruce area that there's a lot to be seen and shared. They also set up sometimes they'll set up vendors in the park area too,
and then they also serve ice cream.
Yes, which
is there anything special about that?
Of course there is. If you've never been to Bruce, you need to go this year and get some of their ice cream because they feature their honey of a fudge sauce with it, which is just chocolate heaven.
So
good. Because I have the South Dakota honey cookbook, I also have the honey of a fudge sauce recipe. So, I mean, I don't think we have a family event that goes by that if we're serving ice cream, that honey of fudge sauce is going to be served with it. It's so good. And they usually will sprinkle sunflower nuts on top. And it's amazing.
I think his favorite part of Honey Days weekend is probably the fact that they can go up to the concession stand and get a cup of ice cream with honey of a fudge sauce. And apparently on Honey Days weekend, it doesn't matter how many you've already had that day.
Doesn't matter at all.
They just
Doesn't matter.
ice cream.
So they sell it over at the concession stand too. It's not just at the lunch in the park.
Yep.
Yes.
Oh, okay. I didn't realize that.
And they also sell it, I think that at least they used to sell it in the bottles where you could buy a bottle of honey fudge sauce too.
Really?
Who makes it?
I don't know for sure. So that's something to look for. They might be selling it. But if not, for sure, get it on your ice cream.
Well, I'll ask Sarah when I talk to her from 80 Honey Farms, but you'll share the recipe, right? We'll talk about it.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. Yep.
But I have a question first. What South Dakota honey cookbook do you have?
We were looking
now
at
I'm intrigued about that.
There's no year on it, and I'm trying to determine this, but it is old.
But it has the best honey recipes in it.
I would imagine so. So the South Dakota State University, the Archives and Special Collections department or whatever in the library, they have spent years going through community cookbooks, South Dakota community cookbooks, and putting them all online. So SDSU isn't the only library in the United States that's doing this or has done this, but I'll have to look and see if they have the honey one on there or not.
I snapped
I
snapped a picture of the cover and then just that inside cover too, because the one Mom has is like a second print.
Okay.
But I'll share those with you too, and that might help.
So if anybody listening is like, oh yeah, the South Dakota Honey Cookbook, it's whatever, you let me know because I want to hear about this. And I will now be searching antique stores and thrift stores across the state forever until I find one. So, but now we can talk about the recipe for the honey of fudge sauce.
Yes. And it's such an easy recipe to make. And I think that's the beauty of it. Of course, where did it go?
Now she's flipping through the cookbook.
I know. And, I don't know if you saw my cookbook with the meatloaf recipe, but it's like you have to be careful when you turn pages because it's likely to fall apart, which is the sign of a really good cookbook and well used. And that's what this is. So the honey of a fudge sauce, it's just basically all ingredients that you cook on the stovetop, and it's butter, cocoa, cornstarch, honey, water. You boil that, and then you add marshmallows and a little salt. And it is perfect every time. I think it's one of those no-fail recipes.
Yeah. So it has cocoa in it. There's no melting chocolate. It's actually making the chocolate out of starting with cocoa.
So when the first two ingredients, half a cup of butter, half a cup of cocoa, it's going to be good.
How much honey is in there?
A cup of honey.
Oh, a whole cup. Oh, yeah. That's got to be good.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And then it's funny. I have 1 tablespoon cornstarch, and then I cross that out, and then I put 2, and then I cross that out, and then I put 1, and then I put okay. So I think we're back to 1 tablespoon of cornstarch.
Okay. And so how much does it make? And do you refrigerate it?
It says it makes 2.5 cups. And it keeps in the refrigerator for quite a while because once it's all mixed together. Yeah.
And it's pretty good if you just like pop open the fridge or the bowl, the lid, and grab a spoonful and walk on by.
Do you guys usually like microwave it so it's warm when you're putting it on your ice cream, or does it harden a little bit like traditional ice cream hot fudge topping?
Yeah, it's better served warm, I think.
Okay. I like the addition. I forgot all about the salted sunflower kernels.
Yeah.
And we don't think about doing that at home. We have them around for our salads, but I don't think about putting it on the ice cream.
Yeah, it's really good with the sunflower seeds on it.
You guys will get me that recipe and then I'll share it on randomsweets.com.
Yes.
Is that, I'm going off topic here, but is the Bruce market still open?
No, unfortunately, it's not.
That was a nice little market. My Aunt Lola worked there at one time. Lola Perry did. What other recipes? You guys have, you definitely use honey and have some recipes to share.
Yes.
That one in particular. And then did Russ have one to share, or Christianne?
Russell has a recipe to share.
Russell has a recipe. He's off busy making dinner right now for everybody, so he's got to come online with us.
Right? Our guest star.
The guest chef. I mean, and Russ has to come and do his own podcast episode from all the stories Christianne's told me about, right? All the things that your dad makes.
Yes. Yep. He does a lot of grilling and cooking
and all the weird foods that he'll eat.
Lots of weird foods. If he approaches you and says, "Here, try this," just be very cautious.
Run.
Or run.
For me, I would have to run because
yeah. Stacy won't eat tiger meat.
Nope, Stacy won't.
There's nothing wrong with tiger meat.
Well, good. Then I'll leave more for you guys.
There you go.
Hi, Russ.
Hi, how are you?
Good. What are you making for supper tonight?
Chicken enchiladas.
Oh my gosh. Christianne, are you staying for supper?
Yes.
Yes.
All right. So what honey recipe are you sharing?
Barbecued ribs, which you just put honey and ketchup, soy sauce, dry mustard, some chili sauce, dark rum, and the famous word Worcestershire sauce, and then garlic. Make sure you get that skin off the back side of them, and after you combine all these ingredients, you put over the top and let them sit there for about an hour, and then cover them up with foil and bake them up, and they taste pretty good.
Dark rum. Did you say there's dark rum in there?
Yep.
So when you're wrapping it, covering it, are you putting it back in the refrigerator?
Oh no, it's got
hour?
room temperature.
Okay. So the only time that those ribs are marinating is that hour that they're sitting out with that sauce on it then.
Yep.
And then are you grilling it or you're smoking them?
I usually like to put them on the smoker and cook them out there. It's a lot nicer than being in the house.
Yes. So how long do they be on the smoker?
Oh, this one only takes about an hour or so at 350. So
Well, that's the finishing part in the oven, but you use this sauce, but you use them on the tray. You do the Traeger method where you smoke them for a couple hours.
3 hours.
3 hours, right.
And then they get 2 hours and then unwrapped again for another hour.
So you're doing 3 hours on the smoker, then you're doing 2 hours in the oven and another hour in the oven.
Well, the smoker gets all 6 hours. I don't cook in the house.
He likes to stay out in the garage.
You gotta be outside.
So with the beauty of a Traeger grill is you can smoke, but then you can actually, it almost works like an oven. It's a pellet fire grill, so he does the finishing right out there too. But the grill, those ribs are usually on there for about 6 hours, and then we finish them with the rest of this barbecue sauce, the honey and rum barbecue sauce, and it's amazing.
Well, if it's anything like that sauce that's on your meatloaf, Mary, amazing.
Yeah, isn't that crazy? So
right.
The simple things are always the best.
You just buy a rack of ribs or what?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Do you do St. Louis style or baby back, Russell?
Baby back.
Baby back. And another little reference to the 90s. Anybody remember that commercial?
I was waiting for somebody to sing it.
I want my baby back, baby back, baby back.
It's not going to be me. Any other recipes?
Well, I think I shared with you my mom's barbecue recipe has honey in it.
Yeah, that's right. You did. That would be another good one to share.
Yeah, I think I did.
Okay.
And I know people can get really particular about their barbecue, or maybe that's just me. But this is about the only one I eat, and it's really simple, but it's just the ketchup and mustard and honey and vinegar and Worcestershire. Did we decide how we're saying that? Worcestershire sauce. And I think it's only like a tablespoon of honey, but it's really good.
Yeah. And again, it's in this South Dakota honey cookbook.
Jeez. Now you're just teasing me. I always have honey, and I'm trying to find ways to use honey because I keep buying honey and keep wanting to use honey.
Well, and Mom, do you know who makes the barbecue sauce for the pork feed on Saturday night?
I don't, but I know that one of my other cookbooks, when the pork producers used to, they were out and about making, hosting pork events, that there's a homemade barbecue sauce that we always use. I don't know where I'm looking for I think I lost a page in my cookbook.
Oh no.
That's not good. But hold on, let me grab my other cookbook.
But yeah, the barbecue sauce for the pork loin sandwiches at Honey Days, I don't know what's in it. I don't even know if there's honey in it, but it's really good. And then they have they take all those leftovers and they bring them up to the concession stand for the volleyball tournament on Sunday. So then we all get pork loin sandwiches on Sunday.
Okay, sure.
This one is it's in, I think, the one of our church cookbooks First Lutheran Church Cookbook. I don't even know when this was, but this cookbook tells quite a story because back in the day we had an electric oven, and so if I don't know, sometimes I'd get a little too close, and so I have all these grill marks on my cookbook, and not only on this section that has our barbecue sauce recipe, but I think over in my brownie section I got some going on. And anyway, but Sandy's barbecue sauce is a homemade barbecue sauce that is probably the best barbecue sauce you're going to have if you're serving pork loin. And it's ketchup, chili sauce, honey, brown sugar, butter, mustard, and water. And you just bring it all to a boil. And another no-fail recipe, but it is so good. And of course,
so chili sauce and butter in there, huh?
Yeah, chili sauce.
Interesting.
In fact, it says a small bottle of chili sauce, 3/4 of a cup, and then half a cup of honey.
Okay.
So it's truly one of those classic barbecue recipes that definitely worth saving.
Those barbecue sauces are so easy to make. I mean, it just makes you wonder why we're not just making them at home all the time.
Right.
I mean, you guys probably do. I don't. It makes me wonder why I don't make barbecue sauce at home all the time.
Well, I'm not making homemade barbecue sauce. That's kind of more my mom and dad's thing. My parents like to get fancy.
All right. Well, did we cover everything about Honey Days? I know that there's a Facebook page, so if somebody's kind of like, oh, I wonder what that's all about, let me go look. It's Bruce Honey Days on Facebook. It's a public group, and so you can join that group and see photos and all the times and everything. And if you have to register for like the volleyball, the beanbag tournament, all those kinds of things, and all that information is on that website. And I know they're very quick about getting back to you. So if you ask a question or something, people are usually pretty quick to respond.
Yeah. And if you've never gone, don't let that stop you from going.
Found it.
We found the same page. Oh man.
Woo, that was close.
But yeah, I've over the years had conversations with random strangers who were never in Bruce before and trying to find this, that, or the other, trying to find a place where they could go buy 80 honey. And the people of Bruce will direct you to where you need to go, and they will help you and welcome you into the community. And it's a lot of fun.
Definitely. And it's not hard to miss things because, like we said, it's a very tiny town, so the whole town is full of stuff. And there's one main street and one ball diamond, and can't really miss anything.
And that mural that was painted last year is just the coolest. People, if you haven't been to Bruce, and I mean, go just to see that mural. It's just beautiful, and it represents Bruce and embraces, the honey history and the 80s and their family. It was really well done.
Definitely. It is really beautiful. So even you youngins out there, if you need some good selfie time, I mean, that wall is very unique and very cool, and that you can go do time, right, too.
Mhm.
So I recommend going, you're right, to check that out. It's just a kitty corner. Is it just across from the bank, right?
Yes, to the east. Yep.
Anything else about the honey days that we want to share?
We just look forward to the whole weekend celebration, seeing friends and family, and just really, Bruce is just a very special place, and it's always good to be there.
It's the honey of a place to be.
It is.
That's
It
their,
says that on the sign, doesn't
yep,
it?
that's their
Yes.
town motto, Bruce, is a honey of a
Yep.
place to be.
It
And
is.
it's the last weekend of July every year.
Oh yeah, that's good to know. And you probably should bring cash.
Mhm.
And you can bring your chairs, right? So you can sit at the games if you're watching, or the parade. You can bring chairs.
Bring a chair, bring a cooler.
Can pretty much park wherever you can find a spot unless it's marked off.
Yep.
Good. Well, it's my dad's class reunion this year, so he'll be riding with something with the class reunion. So I'm not sure yet who's driving his car. I think I offered, and then he thought maybe Sagen would drive it. I don't really know. So I'm just hoping we get his car in the parade. And
Oh, that's so great.
all right. Well, thanks you guys for sharing about the honey days. And Mary, thanks for all the work that you put into that. I know our family has enjoyed many years, and so I appreciate everything you've done, and then the community group and all the volunteers.
It's going to be awesome. Happy honey
Happy
days.
honey days.
You heard them. If you haven't been to Bruce Honey Days, it's a great time. And although there may be generations of families gathered, new friends and faces are always welcome. The schedule of events, the recipes, and photos are on randomsweets.com. And in just a few days, we'll talk to Sarah Hauge and Marla Hoyer from AD Honey Farms in Bruce, South Dakota, and that'll be on episode 31. Thank you for listening to this episode. If you're enjoying Funeral Potatoes and Wool Mittens, please subscribe and share it with your family and friends, as we are building this fun community of people who really embrace that warm and cozy spirit for what we all know, the everyday living in the northern Midwest. And be sure to download episodes to your phone so that you can listen while you're spending time outdoors waiting for your ribs to smoke. Sweet wishes!